You're listening to Lab Out Loud, Science for the Classroom and Beyond. And I'm your co-host, Dale Basler.
I'm Brian Bartel.
And folks, we got a special episode today because we're going to do a few announcements about some changes coming to Lab Out Loud. So the story goes in
Tell me a story, Dale.
Yeah, in spring, we were contacted finally by NSTA, the National Science Teaching Association, which has, for 15 seasons, supported this show. So this
That's a
show
freshman that can almost drive.
Yeah, this show doesn't run on its own. Brian and I are we spend a lot of time on the show, but aside from our time, there is costs for the show. So the costs for the show go in hosting the files.
Microphones, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, expenses for that kind of stuff. Those are kind of one time, but we have reoccurring costs for the show.
We used to have to set aside money to call people from the computer. And then the pandemic just that zeroed that out. That was great.
Yeah, you still have that account, and we have software stuff. But the biggest thing is hosting. So hosting the files and hosting the website for the show notes and those kinds of things. So NSTA was, from one perspective, very good at kind of letting us do creatively what we wanted to do. So while NSTA put our show on their website, it was this show, Lab Out Loud, is really Dale Basler and Brian Bartel. It has been since the beginning, and hopefully we can do some more of it. But
sometimes it's Brian Bartel and Dale Basler.
Yes. Did I say Dale Basler and Brian?
Yeah, no, it's
alphabetical. I think about that sometimes when I'm putting in the creator. So, we seldom did we didn't really get any notes from NSTA of what to do, what not to do. I think the closest thing to that would be that they occasionally would request, each year a couple times, they would suggest hey, can you talk to this person about our new professional credit unions?
Some in-house things. We have an author that we think we'd like to talk about.
Their new learning unit, their new courses. So that's one of the most recent ones. We talked to executive directors, we talked to past presidents, and then the other thing that was asked of us, and all of these things we were eager to do because I like professional organizations. I think they do a good job of kind of gathering everybody's thoughts, creating a professional standard, those kinds of things. So, Brian and I are long active in our local state, Wisconsin Society of Science Teaching, and then NSTA has one at a national level, and I know there are many state ones. Some states have very big organizations, some that I heard rival the sizes of NSTA. So, But so we would also insert information about upcoming conferences, and there was a time where NSTA would compensate us for going to the conference because it was such a fruitful endeavor for us to meet new guests and have new things to talk about and energize. So
I'd like to think that we wagged each other's tail in that case too.
For sure. So it was a good symbiotic relationship that way.
It's a good science term, Dale.
I know. However, NSTA has gone through some changes. I mean, working with them through the years, we have seen staff members change a lot. Different people, some of the people we worked with are gone. The last person that, told us information said, at the end said, oh, by the way, I'm also leaving too. So they've definitely felt the blows of changing economies. The pandemic changed things. I mean, I remember we were gearing up to go to that Boston conference, and then they had to just close up shop, and that hit everything pretty hard. And so we got told in May that we wanted to talk to us and say that we are NSTA decided their leaders decided that they were going to stop supporting the show. Man, they cited that it was financial reasons, that they've been struggling, recovering from the pandemic is what was mentioned, and that they're not going to support the show. So I don't think you and I were shocked. Is that true?
No, I think that was, we could kind of sense that was coming, and unfortunately we kind of we're reading the tea leaves about what was happening nationally with the conferences and what has been kind of translating to local organizations and conferences too. And that, none of that's a shock.
Yeah. So in the meantime, we always kind of power down for the summer. And so we just kind of sat on it. We weren't hearing from NSTA prior to that anyways. It was getting kind of quieter and quieter, and we had some things to settle up with them, and that was taking a little bit longer. So we knew something was up, had our suspicions. So we kind of let that sink in, and then we're like, what are we going to do with the show? We have 15 years. Do we want to keep doing this? Do we not want to keep doing this? And then I had this spectacular bike accident over the summer, so I wouldn't have been able to maneuver the computer very well. Anyways, I hit a pothole and just exploded and broke my wrist and bruised everything. It was ridiculous. And then so we just kind of stewed on it, and we just kind of like, do we want to keep doing the show? And then I think yesterday was probably the most telling. We just kind of said like, yes, let's do it. We kind of missed it.
Some of the infrastructure is already set up, so we're gonna try things out on our own here a little bit, and I guess see what happens. And we can't do this forever without support. So we really thank NSTA for getting us to where we've been. You've made us stronger to basically be able to do some of this on our own if that's what we're going to do. And I guess we'll see. That's
maybe I think some things are going to change for sure. We used to do 16 episodes, then NSTA asked us to do 20 episodes with a couple additional ones here and there. And so I don't think we're going to do 20 episodes a season. So we may have to drop back on number of episodes.
We won't be as regular. Dale's got college kids. I mean, that's one thing right there. I mean,
got to take my kids to college. Well, that might bring more time eventually.
That's true.
So
coming from the car is Dale Basley.
The other thing that what we need from you, the listener, and anybody interested is, so one thing you might have noticed in some of the Lab Out Loud podcast is we had advertising. That also was NSTA. That was not us. So NSTA would put out a rate card. They would collect money for the advertisement. They would work with whoever asked for advertisements. And we would, I would read the advertisements in them. Brian would put links in the show, and we'd insert those in our show, and that's how it worked. That was all.
For those of you not familiar with how podcasts work.
But I'm saying is that wasn't us getting those ads.
Right.
And
you're right.
That's what's going to change now is if anybody's listening and knows of a way for us to get ad support to, number one, pay for our hosting so we can keep the show going. That's the first step. The other thing that we really are kind of desperately asking our listeners is go to laboutloud.com/support, and you can see a link where you can use Patreon. A lot of podcasters use Patreon, and you can support the show for $1 a month. And the reason we're doing a month instead of per episode is that the show, it's hosted all the time. It's not based on each episode. So what I'm kind of struggling with is I know that people use our show in their class. And the reason I know that is because our hosting company gives us the traffic, and some of the
learning
top
management
traffic
systems
things are learning management systems. They're Canvas, they're Blackboard. And so once
which is awesome. That is a really cool statistic.
Yeah, so the quandary is that we need to keep hosting going at that same link because, it's in those courses. And once we break that, I feel like that's going to trickle away then because people they'll have to, if we can move the whole, that's something to think about is moving the whole site somewhere else and keeping the longevity of it.
We don't want you to lose your lesson plans though, because we know that there's episodes that you come back to. There's some that are just evergreen, and I think about the first season where we did an episode with Sir Alec Jeffries talking about DNA fingerprinting, and a lot of what he's talking about is so relevant now thinking about CRISPR, and those are things that we can still use in our classrooms today.
Your dog just chimed in on that too.
She always is a part of the episode. So some of those fees are dog treats to entice my dog to go away, but
they are not. So that is probably the most crucial thing is that we're going to need some support. Laboutloud.com/support. Go to that page. You can donate $1 a month. You can donate more than $1. You can put in the amount you want. We're calling that be our lab partner. And hopefully we can get the very first thing is just enough funds to keep the hosting of the show going. And then, anybody that wants to advertise for the show, now you're going to be working with Dale and Brian, and we'll kind of keep the same thing, pre-roll, mid-roll, that kind of stuff. And we're willing to try different things and experiment. So sometimes great changes are, an opportunity to do just new things. So
right.
That's the scoop on the show. We're going to do more episodes. You're just going to watch that podcast feed and see when they come. And just hopefully you have a little understanding that things are a little different this time.
Gracie doesn't agree. She's growling. Someone must
Gracie,
be outside.
how do you feel about us losing our funding? Yeah. Good job. So I don't know. Anything else you want to say, Brian? Anything that comes to mind?
I'll say this. I think when we started the show, we had a handler from NSTA who sometimes referred to this as a busman's holiday. And what is interesting about that is I think we kind of took offense to that at
Explain what
first.
a busman's holiday is, because it's like...
Well, basically, if you're the bus driver, a bus driver's holiday, I think would be more appropriate now.
Yeah.
You get to see all the sights, but you're still working. But you still get to see the sights. And so I think that was... I think we took offense to that at first, but I kind of came around to that, and maybe... if you're listening, Tyson, you're right. It was something very enjoyable, and we really liked it, and we still like doing it. And but bus drivers still need to get paid, I guess, is maybe the bottom line. But we still enjoy doing it. We still love talking to people. We've had some phenomenal conversations that have shaped my outlook on life, not only in the science classroom, but as a citizen of the world and in my community. And I think that I love to hear about how some of you have been bringing our work into your classroom, and that's really what we wanted to do 15 plus years ago.
We're brainstorming on a couple new ideas for the show, and I don't think I even told you this, Brian, but what I'd like to do is we have one of the benefits is we have this huge repertoire of shows. So, the daily New York Times does like encore presentations of shows.
We've never done that.
And I think that there's probably a whole bunch of shows that are out there that are gems. We actually see some of them that still get downloaded and things that we could re-showcase, revisit.
Yep.
And the thing I'd really like to experiment, so if you're a listener and you want in on this, contact us, laboutloud.com/contact, is I'd like to get science teachers to join us, just having a science teacher and have their take on maybe previous comments or previous things that we need to do.
Yeah.
We have some former guests that talked about conversations that still need to be had. And so I'd love to have science teachers that could share their contribution, their thoughts on those ideas. So two things. If you want to be on the show, laboutloud.com/contacts, and you want to keep fuel in the bus so the show can keep rolling, laboutloud.com/support.
Excellent.
So until the next episode, all you listeners out there, we thank you so much for the feedback you've given us through the years and the support you've given us just, to keep us energized to keep doing the show. And we hope you stick with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon.